gun to my head, do I believe I'm going somewhere? And the answer was no. It's so contrast because in like 2020, I had was driving around supercars in LA and like had the status and all these things and was lost and frustrated. And then now I'm like, I've literally invested, I'm just bootstrapping a company, as you are probably very familiar with.
Yes.
And am living the complete opposite of the life, and yet am far more fulfilled and at peace and joyful than I was then, which is in itself like a testimony, you know, like to what God's grace does in your life.
I know like why I'm here.
An atheist at the beginning of the year
bounces into the ceiling in the passenger seat.
Hit my head.
Putting them in towards the wrong thing. Like,
who am I now?
The person ahead of me wishing I looked like them. Somebody's looking at me wishing they looked like
Just dance.
Sin's there and I'm like, man, I feel good. Never felt that.
Jordan Beau.
Yep.
Beau, right? That's how you say
Beau,
it?
perfect.
Easy.
Yep.
Welcome to the Filled Podcast.
Thank you.
So glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm honored to be here.
Oh, I'm honored to have you. So let's just start. I want you to just kind of tell about who you are. You have a long-standing relationship with social media.
Yeah.
We're here in California. I just want you to kind of give a brief, and I would love to dive into your testimony because you have a pretty sick testimony.
Yeah, which is kind of a part of my social media journey as well. So 2016, I used to ride scooters professionally, like Razor scooters.
Mm-hmm.
And then vlogging had kind of entered its era when all the pranksters were hopping on YouTube and kind of showing the behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And then me and my brother ended up getting on YouTube following like two of our other friends in our same community. So we were kind of early to like the vlogging era. And then me and him did YouTube from 16 to 18. He became a fireman.
Okay,
so,
that's like completely different.
I'm more creative. Like, I think everyone was like, that kid's not going to work a 9 to 5. My brother's more logical and practical. And so like being a fireman just makes sense for him. For me, no shot. Like, I've had nightmares about being a fireman. It's not for me.
Oh my gosh.
And 2018 to 2021, YouTube was like full time my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was around like 21 when I was just like peaking in YouTube. I was in LA, fully engulfed in all things, right? So like, I did really well for myself. I'd gone through a million different niches on YouTube and honestly kind of lost myself in the process, right? Just because we were conforming more to what the algorithm wanted, and I no longer was documenting the things I was passionate about, which was scootering when I started.
Mm-hmm.
And I always knew I kind of want to rip the Band-Aid of YouTube off, but it was such an identity thing for me that it just made me nervous. And so in 2021, I moved. I think I was living in Arizona at the time. And I just realized it was a time. I threw the last amount of money I had, reinvested everything back into sort of trying to rebrand my YouTube channel. Like, I started a full new YouTube channel because I thought that'd be like a good marketing ploy, and like dumped my old channel, which, to be fair, my reasoning behind it was because I just thought the algorithm was just so lost. Like, I had dipped into so many different niches. The algorithm's like, I don't even know where to send your content.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really hard for me to break through this sort of cap that I had. So I started a new channel, again, invested everything back into like editors and content, was putting out really cool videos. But I realized it was just the same thing. Like, I just fell right back into where I was before.
Mm-hmm.
And so inevitably I launched a creative consulting agency, which was my first ever business endeavor outside of social media, where I no longer relied on content to pay my bills, which was nice. And so the year or so leading up to that, which was kind of part of my testimony, which we'll talk about, I got really deep into personal development. Like, in the season of my life when I was lost, fitness and becoming a better communicator and reading and a lot of like the self-help personal development stuff became the coping mechanism for me to kind of just artificially create progress in my life. And by the time I had started my agency, that was really all the content I was then making. So I was free to make the content I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And I started my agency. That was cool. I loved the service I was delivering, but I hated the workload. So like, I'm a very active person. I come from the outdoor space, you know, like action sports was my whole childhood. I love fitness. I love to travel, all these things. And so sitting on my laptop, just literally just thinking of ideas. I don't really use AI or any constructs to help me build these ideas out. I just think. It was just boring me to death. So I did that for about 2 years, more by necessity. And that was when my content again became a little more of what it looked like today. I eventually found my faith kind of in that story. So I started being a little more vocal about that. And then all those things led up to 2023 when I moved back to California, where I am now in San Diego. And then the beginning of this year, I launched what was just kind of the obvious next step, something I had really heavy on my heart with all these things that God had put me through, which was coaching, which is a format that I don't really enjoy. Like, I think the coaching industry is kind of whack. I think it's really shady, and there was no other way to put it. Like, it's a mentorship program, coaching, it's all the same industry, and I can't really escape it. But I essentially help young men now predominantly navigate their 20s through a curriculum that I'd built that lives in a handbook, and it's the most countercultural thing I could possibly sell today. Like, I am selling these young men who really only care most of the time about business and finances on pulling time away from those things, often more than not, and redistributing it to all these other things that matter, like community, character, fitness, health, becoming a better communicator, all these things. So it's not an easy sell, but it has been the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life.
Really?
And it's definitely like it's early gen, like it's going to evolve and change. And I feel like I'm just being called in a million different directions. But yeah, now like it's so contrast because in like 2020, I had was driving around supercars in LA and like had the status and all these things and was lost and frustrated. And then now I'm like, I've literally invested, I'm just bootstrapping a company, as you are probably very familiar with.
Yes.
And am living the complete opposite of the life, and yet am far more fulfilled and at peace and joyful than I was then, which is in itself like a testimony, to what God's grace does in your life and what obedience has done. Because it's funny, and again, this is a concept we can talk to later, like there's people in my life who have voiced not jealousy, but like a healthy jealousy for like the fruit of my life. But it's so funny because I'm like, well, if you look at my life circumstantially right now, I'm in the fire. Like, I don't have any of the real fruit that like you guys are seeking or people outside of the faith are seeking. I've given up all of that. So I don't know what you're jealous of. You're just jealous of like the hard work, the suffering, and like what it produces. But that's been a concept I've been playing with, which is, again, irrespective to my journey. But that's kind of like the story. So I don't really know what to label myself as. I'm like a half creator, a mentor, coach. I don't know.
When you were entering this because I know exactly what you're talking about. Like this is kind of schemy with like the coaching. Because like, you get the ads on Instagram. You're like, bro, can you leave me alone? X, Y, and Z. Like, I've seen you like 10 times. Tell me you're going to make me $5 million in a month. You know
I'm familiar, yeah.
How do you overcome that of being now? Because like you kind of have to overcome the stereotype.
Yeah. You know what's funny is, I don't know if this is just a tactic I've developed by accident, but like a phrase I use often in my business is like, I'm not getting rich off of this. And I think that's a big telltale. Like, I am serving in this business more than I'm getting as a reward. So for one, it'd be really illogical for me to run that business if I was trying to scam you. I'd probably be the worst scammer of all time. Like, I can probably manage at max capacity 10 one-on-one clients right now. And I'll just say this transparently because I've said it. I would make $5,000 a month.
Wow.
At max capacity. I've had a taste of plenty more money in my life. So like, there's a million different businesses I could operate if I was trying to generate revenue. And so I do often sell my clients in that regard. I'm like, trust me, like, you're going to get more out of this than I'm getting out of this. This is the season of my business where I'm serving and I'm biting the financial bullet to get there.
Yeah.
I think that is in part how I combat the system, because I'm like, this is not an easy sell. I would sell you something that's easier. I would promise a financial return or a million other things. And so I think that kind of like highlights me in the space and kind of keeps me outside of it. But then I think some of my clients are probably just like, well, why do I want to learn from a guy who's not making any money? But I'm like, it's all a part of the process, right? Like, I think as a believer, we serve first.
Amen.
And I think the fruit is to come later. And I think like the more I've lived by that, the more fruit I've seen. So it's not always monetary fruit. I'm just getting really rich in the kingdom, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like, literally, it's an upside down kingdom.
Yeah.
So I feel like I developed like this very much so, like, I could die tomorrow and nothing that I have will come with me. And that's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
Especially when, like, because I was working in finance. So when you have, like, the world at your fingertips, you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
But I could die tomorrow.
Yeah.
And none of it comes with me.
This is a gnarly thought. I have this often, and there might be some vanity behind it. I don't know. But I often think, like, what would people say about me if I died? Which is sort of parallel to legacy, right? But I think when people think of legacy traditionally, it's like, what will people remember me that I built? Or what that I've built will people remember me by? And ironically, I'm like, I don't think that lasts as long as like what people remember you, or who people will remember you as.
Mm.
And I am like very confident that if I die tomorrow, God willing, that it'd be only good things, you know, like my legacy without having to build something, without having to strive or build some huge business or whatever. Like my legacy is already anything I could want it to be. Like I think it reflects Christ, and I think all the things that people will know me as will be joy and will be kindness and serving. And I didn't really need to build anything to get there. I just again flipped everything on its head.
When you were saying, like, when you had everything at your fingertips when you were in LA, would you say this? Would you be able to say the same thing back then?
I mean, no, I was never like, it's tough because I try to balance this idea. Like I was very much so living for the world. Like my North Star was financial for sure. It was like monetary acquisition. I love cars, houses. I wanted a yacht. Rough. And
there's a dog.
That's
in
my
the
dog
office.
out there.
He's tired.
But at the same time, like I always had a good head on my shoulders. Like when I was younger, I drank and I partied with my friends, but I was never like that deep into it. I never got into drugs or anything like that. So I kind of teetered this, like I was raised with a good moral foundation, but at the same time, I very much so live for the world.
Yeah.
So I don't think like people would have, no one would have bad things to say about me then, but I do think I wouldn't be remembered for these principles that I think are much more important. Like I think whatever I did and who I was would have been forgotten quickly.
Totally.
Just sad, but.
Well, and I think too, like you kind of just described of like being on the fence. Like I feel like, have you heard that? Like, have you heard the saying like the devil owns the fence?
I love it.
I love that saying too. Yeah. And that's kind of like exactly what you just described of like having still like morals. Like you're not saying like you didn't have morals and values just because you were living in LA. You know what I mean? You come from a Christian family, right? Or no?
Kind of. I come from a Sunday Christian family.
Wait, me too.
From like born till, or maybe like adolescence till 13 maybe. My dad became an atheist I think when I was like 11 or 12.
Wow.
And by then we weren't going to church anyway for a while. And we never had Bibles in the house. We never prayed in the house. I think my family used church as community because they came from the East Coast. My dad's from France. And so I think that was just a way for them to build great community, which again is a positive. The problem though is the community can't mask faith. You know what I mean? Like faith and community are not synonymous. You can build community with Christians, or a church can be there for you in a difficult season or when you need them, but it doesn't mean that it'll produce fruit. It doesn't mean that it'll produce faith, you know?
Totally. So you said your dad became an atheist. Is he still an atheist?
Yeah.
How is that? How is navigating that? As someone who like, from what I've seen of you, is fully sold out for Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, it's been interesting because when I was 18, I guess this is like, it's hard for me not to get into my testimony. So like there'll be a little peeps into my testimony here. But when I was 18 around, I'd kind of come to the conclusion that I don't believe in God. It's been something I've been saying my whole life, you know, like as people were raised Christian, I said I believe in God.
Yeah.
And I never really pondered it or thought that deep of it. Keep in mind, I was a teenager. And I think when I'd become an adult and was really being reflective upon the things that I believed, I just realized like the signs of my life and the things that I was quite worried about were largely related to death. Like became really scared of dying.
Really? Okay.
And then I'm like, well, if I'm scared of dying, like, do I really believe in God? And that just led me to question that. And so when I was 18, I realized I don't believe in God. Sounds dramatic, but like gun to my head, do I believe I'm going somewhere? And the answer was no.
Like black, like you die, it's going black?
Yeah, I mean, like similarly to an atheist or an agnostic, like I didn't believe in heaven. Like I didn't actually believe it where I'd have this trust that I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
I never even weighed works or had any concept. I didn't really know the faith, right? I just was raised in it. But I wasn't raised in it. I was just going to church. I was in, you know, like kids ministry maybe, and we're reading the same stories. Maybe it built the foundation. I do think seeds are planted. Yeah. But I didn't know much about the gospel by any means. And so at that time, me and my dad are kind of on the same page. We're not having conversations about it, but now I'm like, I don't even really consider myself a Christian, but that worried me. So when I started re-exploring my faith, my dad, by the way, love my dad.
Yeah.
There's this sort of arrogance that comes with atheism that like you're more intelligent than thou, you know? And I'm not saying my dad walks around and carries this, and I'm not here to dog on my dad. I just think alongside atheism, there's this eye roll that comes from an atheist whenever Jesus is talked about or whenever a faith is talked about. Because to them, it's unintelligent to believe in so. So there was definitely a season where like, I just know this about my dad. Anytime it gets brought up, he rolls his eyes. He still does that to this day. But the beauty's been, I wasn't ready to have conversations with him until I was at some capacity theologically sound. And I remember like a year and a half ago, maybe, by the way, I'm a new believer, so I'm still quite immature in my faith. I was able to have a proper theological conversation with my father and essentially broke down, not to defeat my father, but just to open his eyes. Like, all the beliefs he has are reflective of man failing to represent Christ. Like, it's the power and the money that the churches long to gain. And he's not wrong for that. Like, I'm not here to argue that. Like, I see a lot of the issues that you see with the faith. I see it as well. The problem, though, is you don't actually have an issue with Christ. Like, nothing that you believe and dislike about the church is reflective of Jesus's ministry at all, right? Like, you think the Vatican Church is just a power-hungry thing. Perhaps.
Yeah.
But was Jesus power-hungry or money-hungry? No, by no means. He came to serve. He kneeled at the feet and washed the feet of his servants. Like, and so I just think a lot of atheists, and again, rightfully so, have a distaste in their mouth of the faith by those who have failed to represent it. So, like, my dad isn't like an atheist where he like hates Christian. He doesn't hate Jesus. And I think that was what I opened his eyes to, was like, at the end of the conversation, he really was just like laughing. My dad just like gets nervous. He kind of just laughs because he's like, yeah, you're right. I don't hate Jesus. I just think like organized religion as it pertains to Christianity is the issue.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm working on him. I'm praying for him. Yeah.
I'll be praying for him.
Yes,
That's
please.
awesome though, that you get to have that you got to have that type of conversation.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like you said, planting seeds is important too. So now, from where you're at now, you kind of like, I feel like, well, the way you describe your social media, it's a complete 180 from what you were doing.
Yeah.
So how'd you get to that point of, maybe this is where you can dive a little bit more into your testimony of how you kind of went from 18-year-old not believing in God to now, what, 26?
27.
27.
Yeah.
Now you're like, I'm a new believer, but like, I fully know that this is truth.
Yeah. So I think around the 2021 mark, when I started my agency, I was making a lot of personal development content. And then communication has always just been a gift of mine. Maybe I didn't realize it when I was young. And perhaps it's because I've trained the muscle in front of cameras my entire life. But I really love to communicate. And so a lot of my content became articulating certain concepts or things or perspectives. And I think around the time as I started becoming a believer, I didn't really see a reason to keep my faith private, especially since I was sort of a like skeptic entering the faith. I'm like, this is a perfect time to kind of explain my perspectives. Like, if I look back on some of my early faith videos, which I haven't done too much, I probably would cringe a little bit or like not agree. Like, I do enjoy documenting with whatever perspective I share at that time. Like, for example, I don't curse anymore. And if I watch my videos back, I used to have the worst mouth in the world. And it just makes me cringe. I don't know if it's because I look like inarticulate at the time, but I just don't enjoy it. And I think in the same way, I was really careful about when I was sharing my faith to start because I didn't really know much about it. So I think I was more so just vocal about it. And I have always been careful to this day of teetering between like media ministry and just somebody who happens to be a Christian and is vocal about it, right? Like, I think there's a difference, right? Like Bryce Crawford, Christian influencer, like he's using ministry to save people. That's a big deal. And I think that can go really wrong if you do it that way. So what Bryce is doing is great. I think my fear is like, I am not mature enough, I think, in my faith to be able to balance monetizing my faith. And so I've always been hesitant to attach my faith to anything that generates me revenue.
Yeah.
So it was always just, this is my story. This is a concept I learned, where I think now, again, I don't really make money on social media much anymore, so I'm still not worried about it. But I think for me now, it's like, I do like I kind of rebuke a bit on social media to whatever capacity that I understand theology. Like, I definitely set a boundary for myself that like, you don't speak beyond what you understand, right? And two, I don't rebuke out of like condemnation. There's enough condemnation in the Christian faith between Christians. I try often in my content lately to call people out of being lukewarm Christians, because I'm really passionate that some people aren't going to like this, but I think a lukewarm Christian isn't just sitting on the fence that the enemy owns, but I think lukewarm Christians are misrepresenting Christ and hence pushing people away. So I think a lukewarm Christian believes that because they're dipping their toes, they're like a little spiritual. It's like, no, you're actually, you're better on the complete other side of the fence. Like, either get pushed over the fence, which is what I kind of say I'm trying to do, is like push believers off on the side of the Lord, or just don't be on the fence at all, because I just consistently see people being like, I'm a Christian. And it's like, yeah, but your fruit aren't saying the same thing. And who sees your fruit? Everyone who's on the other side of the fence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Non-believers or people who are skeptical, and you're just giving them ammo.
Oh,
But
yeah.
their ammo isn't against Christ. It's against you who's claiming that, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my content's around that. And then also those topics that we were talking about before we were rolling is like, what are the topics I don't think are talked about enough in the Christian faith that I can discuss as a new believer who was once a skeptic?
Mm-hmm.
And I think because communication is a gift of mine, I try my best to articulate and kind of share the perspective to those who perhaps are frustrated with the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of passionate about that. So that's how my content has evolved as it pertains to the faith.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm pretty like careful when it comes to preaching or evangelizing. Like I evangelize on my own accord. I don't make content around that. I've never been called to be a pastor or preacher. So until then, I don't teeter that line.
Yeah.
By no means.
Totally. Which, I mean, that takes a lot of discernment in itself to know, like, hey, I don't feel called to this right now. Because a lot of times, too, like, you're talking about the people that are misrepresenting the faith might be then having the wrong call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of, like, maybe you're not called right now. Like, I was just telling you, like, oh, what kind of people do I want to have on this podcast? I am not equipped right now to, like, argue with an atheist. You know what I mean?
And again, that's discernment. Like, you know that could actually be harmful for the faith.
Yeah.
And not.
Because what happens if I just sit here and I'm, like, frozen? You know what I mean? I'm like, that is way more harmful than doing good. You know what I'm saying? So kind of backtracking to just social media in general, when you were in that world, because I think that like a lot of like what we talk about is kind of how dark social media is. Like that's like how like I've seen it. How, number one, do you navigate that now while still having a social media presence while your revenue isn't coming from that? Yeah. But also number two, how did you experience that when you were in the thick of it in like kind of like the prime? Because you were kind of living what like the 15-year-old's dream was, right? Would you say?
Yeah, I was living my 15-year-old's dream.
Yeah.
Again, I kind of navigated it well. Like I've never been that kind of person. So like even when I was in the thick of it, I wasn't drinking a ton. I wasn't out going to clubs, or I wasn't like going to the big LA clubs. I wasn't at Hyde on like a Thursday night. Like I already knew at the time, just from my moral upbringing, like that's not for me. I like to go to bed early. So I was like, I was balancing. It was more of my own personal issues with social media, which is like, this isn't fulfilling me. For example, one of the things I used to say was like, or I guess try to rationalize, was being an entertainer was the service I was providing. Like my content was entertainment. Like I think you can entertain, you can educate, or you can inspire. Those are like kind of the three pillars of content. And I used to rationalize the fact that like what I'm doing is good because I'm making people happy. Or you can take it really far and be like, as a creator on a long enough time horizon, like you will get messages from people saying that like you saved their life. Fair. Yeah. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that kind of adds fuel to the fire. That is you rationalizing, if I can just make people laugh or make people smile, then like what I'm doing is truly serving. I'm going to be careful with what I say there, because I think like comedians, like that's a great job, you know, or being an actor and entertaining people. Great job. I don't think though I was serving people with the capacity I thought I was. Okay. So I eventually was just like, what am I doing here? Like this is not giving me purpose. I'm not waking up every morning mission minded, you know? I'm just waking up every day of like, how am I going to get a viral video? That's all I care about. Yeah. Not because a viral video will make a bunch of people happy, because a viral video will make me a bunch of money, you know? So I think that's where my darkness lived. Obviously, being in the world, you see it. Like, I mean, my old community has branched off and gone in all the different directions of social media, which I think inevitably led people down the route of things as extreme as like OnlyFans, or getting like gambling deals, or entering the streaming sort of era of social media, which I just think is unhealthy across the board. Like all those things are detrimental to the world. They're not pushing the world in a better direction. And so I just kind of knew that I wanted my content to do something good. Yeah. And at the time I didn't really realize that it wasn't. And so that's why I changed. But I definitely didn't see too much of the dark side of social media. I saw the dark side of LA because when I lived there, I was into cars a lot. And all of my friends were like native LA trust fund kids. So I saw behind the curtain of like the affluence of LA, even outside of social media. Okay. And that to me was like peak purposeless, like just a bunch of kids that have no schedule in their day. They don't have jobs. They have crazy amounts of money they have access to. And I just knew, I'm like, I don't want that to be me. Like that's not setting your kid up for success. Yeah, no. And so there's, again, that's just like one of the dark aspects of LA. But again, I kind of stayed out of it, luckily.
Yeah, that's awesome though.
Yeah.
That like you were able to have like even just like that maybe a little bit unconscious moral compass, like of not fully realizing it. And like is LA a lot of old money? Like I said, I've never been here before. So I'm like here, I'm in like Beverly Hills and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of money here.
Yeah. I mean, LA's like old money, international money. It's LA, it's Los Angeles. It's like, I would say it's predominantly like music and Hollywood.
Okay.
You know? So like some of the biggest money players in the world. So like a lot of these guys are producers or directors or like people's fathers own some of the big talent agencies, you know, like, and so yeah, it's old money because they might not have been the first person to own, they might not be the founder, you know, it might have gotten passed down, or like their grandfather might have been a director, or like their family has the patent or gets paid all the rights on like a Disney character or something, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
I would probably improperly label it or umbrella it. Like it's just Los Angeles. It's like always been the city of opportunity, of dreams. And I think everything you see now is a product of that. But it's very artificial. Like in the same way that Hollywood or reality TV and social media is sort of a veil, like the behind the scenes is also kind of a veil.
Really?
Like most people, I'm generalizing here.
Yeah.
Most people that go out there to pursue a career are willing to step on people in the process because it's all they care about. And that's why the culture there is kind of dicey, because unless you have a really good head on your shoulders, and I'd argue that like maybe even an unrealistic head on your shoulders or an ability to read human behavior, like you will be deceived by someone at some point and think someone was a friend or think someone had good intentions or had a good heart, and they didn't. That's just LA. That's just the culture. So you go there to like work and to make money, and it's great for that. But there is a cost.
I've been talking, so something that's been being talked about in my church a lot is over-spiritualization and under-spiritualization. Would you, like, as for someone that's experienced it, would you go, like, as far as say, like, the devil has, like, actually, like, infiltrated, like, LA in, like, those ways? Of, like, that's, like, the darkness that's being there? Like, is it...
So much.
Like, would you say that it's caused by the devil?
Yeah. No, like, if you look at, like, demonic strongholds as far as geography goes, like LA is like one of his greatest, if not his greatest.
Yeah.
Like if the enemy can use a group of people or a culture to bring as many people to make non-disciples, LA is like the top.
Yeah.
Like if we're saving souls, LA has taken the most souls.
Yes.
For sure.
So it's like, and like, is it realistic? Like, is the term, because I feel like being from the Midwest, is the term like selling your soul actually a thing there? Or is that just like how, like people, when you talk about selling your soul, is it the type of thing where people are like, because they're so willing to step on your toes, it's not like you're actually signing a contract that sells your soul?
I think it's twofold. One, I think metaphorically, yes, people there are selling their soul. Yeah. Meaning like, if you look at a lot of the old churches that you see in Paul's letters, right? Like, Ephesus, I think, was a pretty gnarly city, or Corinth was like all these cities of idol worship. LA is like the most modern day idol worship city. So I think people end up selling their soul, meaning that they just like willingly die to themselves because they idolize money or sex or all these things, or social proof, whatever. Contrary to that, I do think I've heard like the LA thing's weird because a lot of the people who are like love the conspiracy theories and stuff, like get your podcast canceled here, but like I have heard of a lot of weird things of people like selling their soul to the devil. But like, does that mean you sold your soul to the most demonic organization that has all the power? Like, did you sell your soul to the biggest music label, or did you sell your soul to one of the biggest directors in Hollywood who can put you wherever? Right? Like, I mean, and they are representative of the enemy's play or ploy in that culture of the world. And probably. And I have heard of like people literally like, oh, I gave my life to the devil, or like the Illuminati has reached out to people. Like, I don't even know what those things mean.
Me neither.
Because I didn't get that deep in it. But obviously, knowing a lot of people in the social world, at some capacity, that stuff has to exist. Yeah, it just does, because you get too many gnarly stories from too many people. But at the end of the day, it's like you can go down that rabbit hole, and like for what? Like, I don't see any difference between a written contract selling your soul to the devil, which, by the way, I don't even have a written contract selling my soul to the Lord. So like, I don't know how much real it could get, you know, like tangibly. And then two, I think the example I gave to start of just people like figuratively doing that, I don't think that's any worse. Like, making something your North Star that's not the Lord, that's money or status, is the same thing. You're going to lose your life at the same capacity, you know?
Yeah. It's still making like idols.
Yeah.
It's literally still idolatry.
Yeah.
I think about like when I'm reading the Old Testament right now and like the Canaanites, it's like literally they were just like the city Canaan was like the city of idols. You know what I mean? It's like I think that's a really good like comparison to like Ephesus. Like I've never thought about that of like LA being kind of like similar to that.
It's the same thing.
It's wild to see how the Bible, like I've read Romans, such a popular book. Great book.
Maybe one of the best.
Maybe one of the best.
New Testament.
I don't know, but
God's like, no. I like it.
I really love it. I really love Romans. But you're reading like I read Romans 1 like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I'm like, literally, this is what's happening in today's world. I'm like, oh my gosh, the correlation from this book that's 2,000 years old to right now is absurd. And that's where I'm like, you asked me like, how do I know God's real? I'm like, well, the correlation is crazy for it to number one not be. And I've had my own experiences, but I'm also like the correlation between this book and what's going on in today's world is so real.
And I think the world's getting so gnarly that for the first time ever, people are waking up to the fact that the Bible isn't some fairy tale, that like we're actually living in parallel times.
Yeah.
And like the assassination that happened this year, I think people kind of, again, can over spiritualize it or make it overly political. I think the reality of that was, as believers or non-believers, right? The disciples dying for the cause in the gruesome, gnarly ways, or the boldness that was proclaiming the faith in a world that hates them, that hates the faith, was, again, just something that happened 2,000 some years ago. So it was just like something we read. And I think when we started seeing a spectacle of it with our eyes, with access to social media today, for the first time, like I don't watch a lot of people die on my For You page, you know?
Me neither,
So to see it and be like, that person died, whether you agree with him politically or whatever, because he died boldly proclaiming his faith, people are like, holy crap, we're not actually living in different times. We're not actually free of the things we saw in this fairy tale. That like those are things that can apply to today.
Yeah.
And I think that's the world we're living in right now, where people are realizing like, holy crap, like the parallel you drew, like LA is actually that dark of a place, that like the demonic strongholds are real. And I think there needs to be an awareness here that like when I was non-Christian or skeptic, the word demonic to me was insane.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are we talking? Are we talking about like Insidious here? Like, what do you mean demonic? Like, you sound goofy.
Like The Conjuring.
And I think, again, a topic more Christians or people should talk about in the faith is like, what do we mean by demonic?
Yeah.
And like, how is it both really real and also sound kind of crazy? So like, what movies or part of culture has made a demon make you think of like Darth Maul-esque characters in a horror movie? And what part of it is actually super real? Like worshiping money and worshiping these things, like what the really dark things that's happening in culture, like you can either blame that on a dark universe or like that is the enemy at play, whether you want to believe it or not. So I think like both believers, non-believers are just waking up now to the idea that like we're living in insane times and there is some weird spiritual aspect here that we can't even wrap our heads around.
Yeah. Which I feel like is a good correlation of like, if you are a non-believer, everyone cannot wrap their head around it.
Yeah.
Like whether you believe it's the devil or not, it's hard to wrap your head around what is going on.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's so deeply dark where you're like, why can I watch someone die on my For You page?
Yeah.
Like that's absurd. Like I would have never thought that, like as like a 10-year-old downloading Instagram maybe. Like you never would have thought about that 15 years ago. Like that's absurd.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, especially in today's day and age, people are, I mean, it's kind of weird how much we consume social media in the sense of like, we all saw that happen.
Yeah.
And I think that it's been crazy to see the revival that's come from it.
Yeah.
Of
insane.
like, I don't know if you've seen like how insane that is, but I am just like in awe of how like all of a sudden these people are coming on their social media and like, I've been a Christian this whole time, but I've never talked about it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like, holy cow, we could have some type of movement here like happening.
I've been bringing this up to non-believers or the conversations that I have with atheists or agnostics, whatever, of like, I'm curious. I always say the same thing. I'm like, do you see the revival that's happening right now? Or is it because I'm in the Christian bubble?
Yeah.
And I actually got an interesting response recently from someone. I was evangelizing at the Thanksgiving dinner table. So whoever's at the table, I'm sorry that I went on for 3 hours. But the response I got was really good because when I asked that, it was a bit of an awakening as a believer that like the view, this is from one person. So like this isn't the view, but I think this is reflective often of the atheist or agnostic view of what this revival looks like is they see a lot of people talking about the faith.
Yeah.
But they see sort of the political side of the faith what are
Mhm.
people calling like the Christian politics side of the faith called? There's like people who are using faith.
Christian nationalism.
Okay, so there's like, yeah,
Yeah.
they view a lot of it as Christian nationalism. So like, again, rightfully so. I think a lot of people are putting it in a box, which I don't necessarily think is reflective of the gospel. They see a lot of
I
people
agree.
doing it for attention. So I think when we see revival, we just see people proclaiming the name of Christ, and we think
Mhm.
that's good, right? Like Paul says, like, it doesn't matter in any way we say thank you or we rejoice that people are proclaiming the name of Christ. I
Yeah.
think as believers, it just warms our heart.
Mhm.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do think we have to be aware of like non-believers, I think, are viewing it in different lights. Like it's not all good. It's not all like, oh, all these people are talking about Jesus. That's so
Yeah.
great. To them, they already have perhaps a distaste in their mouth of religion or organized religion of Jesus. So they're actually viewing these like, it's not all good. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, these are just like people who are using it for political reasons
Mhm.
because it aligns with their view on this thing. Or
Mhm.
it's like these people are just doing it for attention or to monetize or to make money. You know, like the new Christian influencer movement, right?
Mhm.
Because not all those people who are coming out saying I've been a Christian my whole life are producing fruit.
True.
And I think the non-believers can see the fruit just as much as we can, or the
Oh,
lack
100%.
thereof. Again, that's not helping the kingdom, in my opinion. And rather, it gives the agnostic or the atheist a reason to say that like it's not a real revival, you know?
Mhm.
So that's just something to talk about or to think about lately, that like the revival is happening for
Mhm.
sure. The whole world's terrified because it's such a dark world. And I think
Yeah.
people are finding Christ in a different selection of ways, often because their backs are against the wall, you know,
Mhm.
or they have no more hope, nothing to rely on, nothing to lean into. And that pegs curiosity. And so they go down some rabbit hole or just end up meeting Jesus in some crazy way.
Mhm.
But it doesn't mean that like everyone who's a part of the revival has the tools to walk out a faith that is bringing people to know Christ, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I would completely agree because I think like we were talking about of like I like how you say the non-believers can see whether you're bearing fruit or
Yeah.
not. Because also like the way that you live your life, like if you're saying like proclaiming the name of Jesus and
Yeah.
then you're not going to go love your neighbor or like whatever that might look like in a certain like whether they're a believer or not.
Yeah.
Because I've been thinking about a lot like what does it look like to love the people that are hard to love?
Yeah.
Which is I was reading James and I was like clocked because I was like,
Yeah.
it's so easy to love people that are easy to love,
Yeah.
like that are, you know, nice to you or
Yeah.
like love the Lord and like are
Yeah.
truly living it out. How hard is it to love an atheist that disagrees with you and
Yeah.
like makes it known or something? Where it's like social media can amplify Christ in like such a great way. And like that's like why I feel like we're here is like we want to amplify Christ in like the best way possible. And I
Yeah.
know that I'm not always going to say the right things
Yeah.
because I'm 22 and my faith is like so immature in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But there's also the aspect of it like, hey, like Jesus, like Jesus is love, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, fruits of the spirit, like knowing these things, but there's also people then that are not exemplifying fruits of the spirit.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, we're giving the wrong idea on social
Yeah.
media. So it's like, how do we balance that?
Yeah.
Because when you're sitting at the Thanksgiving table, what's the atheist saying? How is he or
Yeah.
she viewing it?
Yeah. And I think more people should ask. We as believers should be less quarrelsome. Like
Mhm.
it's all like you're not called to prove your point in Christ.
Yeah.
You're called to give people, again, show them the love, model what Christ is and who Christ was,
Mhm.
and inform people. Like
Yeah.
I'm not I can't defeat you and love you at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think I try to at least pick atheist brains or agnostics brains or even people of other faiths of like, what's your view of Christianity? What's your
Mhm.
view of your friends or your community or the people you know or what you see on social media?
Mm.
Because that helps form the way that I go about my faith and the way that I try to evangelize and such. And I think we just are so quick to fight. And I
Mm.
think even in the faith, like my biggest gripe, which I think any Christian podcaster could spend hours on, is like the Christian church is half destroying itself from the inside out half the time, you know?
Yeah.
I just watch Christians judge and yell at each other all the time. And I'm like, it's the same. You're like, it's the branch in your eye scripture. It's like
Yeah.
all you're doing is calling out a brother and sister and you fail to see the branch in your own eye. The irony of that though is the branch is literally in the thing you're doing. In your
Mm.
rebuke is the branch. The rebuke is the branch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, how are you guys, all you guys are missing that.
Mm.
And at the same time, like I have opened my heart to these certain opinions I hold in the church are
Mhm.
perhaps just opinions. Like I don't know if they're biblically sound. Like I used to have a bad view on mega churches or a bad view on a certain type of preaching or whatever it is. And I'm like, who am I? Like I need to soften my heart on those things because I'm not the bar, like I said, I'm a newer believer. I know the gospel. What does the gospel say? And also it doesn't call me to tear down those things. Again, there's rebuke is love. Jesus didn't just love with like flowers, like he often was throwing tables around.
I was just gonna say,
and that was loving someone, right? Like if your friend or sibling or whatever, or even brother or sister in Christ is entering death, right? Or like in a path towards death, which for non-believers, we're talking about death spiritually.
Yes.
You're not loving them by saying that like all things are cool, you do you. That's not loving them at all. Unfortunately, loving them is confronting that. It's having a conversation about that. And obviously the difficult thing is, how do I do that in a loving manner?
So difficult.
Yeah, which
how
is
have
hard.
How have you found to do that?
I mean, I also think we're called to plant seeds. And I think sometimes when I try to water those seeds, I'm humbled that like I can only do so much. Like I can't force someone. Same thing as a relationship, right? Often you want your partner to change. And it's like, just model the change you want to see. Like you can't change your partner. So one, it's modeling it to start. We should always be modeling the faith. Two, it's accountability, not condemnation. And it's guiding, leading, showing again. And then I think when you get past that, I've experienced things like this where it's frustrating, where I'm like, okay, I'm spending hours of my life. I'm doing everything I can to love you and to show you the way. But at the end of the day, like, what else can I do? I can't force your hand because I think that just becomes quarrelsome. That's not loving. So at a certain point, it's just like seeds are planted. This is God's like harvest to have. It's not mine.
I oftentimes find so much comfort in the fact that we can't change hearts.
Yeah.
I'm like, all we can do is plant those seeds, and you can't change hearts. And I think that goes for like any atheist or agnostic or whatever religion. If you're like literally preaching the gospel, whether it's literally preaching the gospel or if it's just like your actions or loving someone well, and that's like what preaching the gospel looks like. But then the thing that I feel like I teeter with is like, okay, my brothers and sisters in Christ that I know are in Christ, and then they're going into, it's like, leading your, well, number one, like you were saying, leading your brother into sin is not like, that's where I can't quote scripture like right now with that, but that's literally like biblical of like leading your brother into sin is like leading them to death, like you were saying. And it's like, when is it like, is it, what is the term, righteous judgment? Or you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about though, when you're like, hey, you're kind of doing the wrong thing here.
I like the term rebuke. Like I don't think rebuke is always condemnation.
Yeah, I like that.
Condemnation is in part judgment, and I think judgment is not what we're called to do. Why? Because we are also
not God, and we
fall
got
short of sin.
we got the branch in our eye.
So it's like holier art thou, and that's not the approach to take. I think rebuke though is we can word trip here all day, but I think rebuke is confronting. Well, no, these are things that come up in conversations. I think it's important to clarify, like, there's confrontation that's healthy. Like, again, it's what you see in relationships, what you see with family. It's what Christ did. Christ, when he saw someone in sin, he didn't judge them for it. He didn't tell them that what they were doing was the worst. Though he hates sin, he called them out of sin and gave them a chance to repent and follow him. So how do we do that? What does that actually look like in our life? It's like, follow me, come with me, put down what you're doing because that's leading you to death, and come follow me in life. I don't know, like,
I like that description.
I'm not going to grab your hand and drag you into life, you know? So it's like, I'm going to offer that to you and show you what that looks like and what the fruit is, and you can choose to come with or not, you know?
No, I feel like that was like a really good description of even like, because I feel like inherently that was kind of like a question that I just posed and you just answered it, because something that like I'm trying to figure out of like how does it look like, and it's literally just not, maybe it's just not leading them into sin, just showing them, hey, like this is how I try to live for Jesus. I'm still a sinner, like still fall short every single day, but his mercies are new every morning. And I think that's a good description of like, what did Jesus do? He was like, pick up your cross and follow me, like, and not leading people into sin, like that's how you love them. And it's like, maybe it's not like going to X, Y, and Z or whatever that person's struggling with. It's like not leading them into like their struggle or whatever that might be. I don't know. But that was a good, like, I really resonated with that. Of like, yeah, that's a great analogy.
I think we as believers have a tendency to be like, what's the approach here? And then you look at other Christians for the approach. I'm like, no, just see what Jesus did. Because often a lot of the other Christians you're looking at aren't actually approaching it the right way. Hopefully they are. But it's like, oh, should I hang out with people that are only Christian, or should I like be around non-believers too? I'm like, well, he came for the sick, not the healthy. Okay. So for starters, when you are going to go make disciples of all nations, you don't make a bunch of disciples of believers. That doesn't make any sense. They're already disciples. You make disciples of the Gentile, of the non-believer, right? So it's like, what did Jesus do? Jesus hung out. Jesus spent time. Jesus had dinner with these people. It didn't mean that Jesus allowed them to tempt him into sin.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see a lot of temptation. I see Jesus being tempted in the desert. I don't see Jesus being tempted that much by those around him. So he had a firm foundation enough where the proximity he kept to those that were in sin, deep in sin, wasn't enough to tempt him, but it was enough for him to model to them instead.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have a choice to be a role model or to be a follower.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're someone who's a follower and you surround yourself with a bunch of people who are not walking accordingly, it's more likely that you conform than they conform to you. So, like, you have to be a leader. You have to walk in a firm foundation, which is also why it's important as a believer to build your foundation. Like, you have to be firm enough in your obedience and your faith to know that, like, you won't conform to the non-believers, because the reality is, in a secular sense, you are the product of your 5 closest friends. So, like, I don't know if you're a Christian, if you want your 5 closest, like, ride or dies to just be people who are out living for the world. Like, that might not be a good idea.
Yeah.
Jesus had 12 disciples around him who, he did call many of them out of sin, but, like, they were also held to some level of obedience where, like, his 12 disciples weren't the prostitutes and the tax collectors. They were perhaps once.
Yeah.
But, like, they weren't living in that as they were following Jesus. That makes sense. And so I think there's, like, this differentiation of, like, if I'm going to be in proximity to you often, and this is a very, like, secular concept because, like, this is practical. Like, this is how we live.
So practical.
I don't know if the people around you should all be living for the world and continue to live in the world as you try and guide and model to them, right? Like, it's a balance. I just know that Jesus spent time with these people and called them out of it. And so to disregard those people or to write those people off, you're pretty much missing the entire call we have as believers.
I agree. I think that like I always say, Jesus walked into darkness. He didn't let his light burn out. Yeah. And I think that's exactly what we're called to do. Walk into darkness and do not let your light burn out. I think the perfect example is him surrounding himself with the 12 disciples of like how, and granted, he is fully man, fully God. Yeah. And it's like, well, we knew that like he is the perfect man and like the disciples are sinners still. So it's like, they are held to a different standard. And it's like, I like how you do become, like that saying is so true. And I found it so true when I was going through college. I was like, you do become your 5 closest friends. And because the difference from going to high school and I went to public school my entire life and then went to a private school for college. And I was like, the difference of who I was going to public school as opposed to like seeking the Lord in college is completely different. Because when you're seeking the Lord with the people around you, you're obviously going to be led into like the light.
For sure.
And I think that, I feel like that leads pretty good into hot seat because I do have a couple of questions. All right. One of which I think that we've been talking about such practical advice, which I feel like is really good. What advice do you have for the younger generation?
Oh my goodness. How much time do you have? Advice for the younger generation. I try to give tangible and intangible or practical and impractical. And I try to be really clear that like God is not intangible. God is not impractical. I just try to separate the two. Like in my business, often I'll give an approach. I'm like, this is the approach you can take with the Lord, and this is the approach you can take aside from the Lord. I'd encourage you to do this one. Very like secular is like, I think technology, I think phones, our attention is going to be the next war. So like, and that's idolatry for sure. But I think like in the next 10, 20 years, the biggest thing that you should have a grip on is your ability to put your phone down, your ability to consume things that are longer format or hold an attention span. Like if you're raising a kid in this generation, I think the best thing you can do for your kid, I'm not a father, but this is quite obvious, is don't let them be an iPad kid. And I've already seen the fruit of this. So anyone who wants to argue it, like try to have a conversation with a 6-year-old iPad kid and then have a conversation with a 6-year-old who didn't have access to technology. The 6-year-old can hold a conversation with you or the 6-year-old who wasn't an iPad kid has an attention span. He can see you, listen to you. Most of the 6-year-olds who just spend time in technology, this isn't enough stimulation for them. So they might hear what you're saying, but they need to be doing other things or fidgeting or blah, blah, blah. That is a really simplistic example of what's going to be dialed to 10 in the next 20 years. So like, if you're a kid, your biggest disciplinary strategy should be get a grip on your attention, on your phones. And that's for adults as well.
100%.
I'll watch movies, keep throwing my family under the bus here, with people in my family. And adult people in their 50s, 60s can't watch a movie without being on their phone. And I'm Gen Z. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are we doing here? And I think these should be little cues as the young generation that you develop as it pertains to self-awareness, that like when you pick up your phone and you're immediately opening Instagram, or you wanted to go check the weather and you ended up on YouTube, pay attention to those things, because
Yeah.
those are a litmus test for your inability to have control over the thing that we bring everywhere.
100%.
That's a tangible, non-spiritual answer. Spiritually, I mean, I think like I think we're living in like modern ancient Greece, modern Greece. And I think there's more idols now than there's ever been before. And the worst part about the idol worship is it's distributed to you across social media to the masses every day.
Yeah.
And so not only are you being tempted with worshiping money, or tempted with worshiping sex, or tempted with worshiping, I don't know, just anything really. It used to be just in your day-to-day out and about, but now it's all day long in your phone.
Yeah.
So you're being tempted all day long. And so spiritually, you have to understand that like the devil now he has access to speak into you and talk to you and put things in front of you. But now he's speaking to you on the thing that you already are on all day long.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's building an army in the same way that God has. It's obviously not an army that's going to win, but like you have to be aware of the powers at hand. And I think like the devil has a lot to work with right now. And so if you're a kid growing up, one, understand that when we say the devil, it's spiritual. He's probably not this like red figure with horns. He's showing up as money. He's showing up as sex. He's showing up as all these things.
Yeah.
And if you can just build a community of people who are willing to become callous to those things and pursue what really matters. Like, I know this is a long-winded answer and sometimes I ramble, but like there's surface level desires, right? Like food will make you feel good, sex will make you feel good, or even often in this day, just staring at it will make you feel good. Those are all quick fix dopamine that are really attainable. All of the real things that we're all pursuing as human beings, like lasting peace, joy, fulfillment, those things take work and sacrifice, and you cannot obtain them momentarily. And so if you're a youth in America today, I would highly encourage you, as I do my friends who are my age, to just continuously pursuing the things of life that are truly meaningful and on the other side of like real suffering, sacrifice, and difficulty. Because like you can go get a bomb cheeseburger tomorrow and it's going to be really easy, really fulfilling, but that feeling will be gone in 10 minutes. So like, how do we pursue lasting fulfillment, lasting joy, stuff that's not fleeting,
Yeah, and it's exactly like what you were talking about, like what you're doing right now with your business. You're like, I'm not making money that I'm used to make, you know? It's like, and like I'm in the same position where it's like I'm not in finance anymore. And it's like when you're bootstrapping like a business, or like you're bootstrapping even just, I don't know, in general. I don't know if that's like a generalized thing, but it's like you said you've never found more joy and fulfillment than what you're doing now. And I relate to that. Like I'm the same way of like, I don't know why I have this contentment and peace with it, which it's not always peace. It definitely is like I'm in the fire type of thing, but it's worth it when it's not like I'm chasing the things of this world.
Yeah.
Because it's never going to fulfill you.
Yeah. I will comment and challenge the peace that I see in the gospel. This has been like one of the biggest part of my testimonies, is an underlying peace that stays no matter what other emotion I'm experiencing. So like when I'm in the fire, I've been stressed. I've been stressed financially, but have a peace knowing that God's A, in the fire with me, as we see in Daniel, and B, that I will be delivered unto the promise that is made. So like, I just have this peace despite the emotion I'm feeling. Whereas the emotion used to consume me. Fear used to consume me. Stress used to consume me. And then maybe later I'd get back to peace. Whereas now I just have a peace in the hope or the trust. I don't just say that to speak Christianese. That was like an early experience in the faith, that like I am sort of always alienated from the emotion as that like all-encompassing feeling. I'm just like, oh, like I trust that like this is just difficult now, but I'm at peace with the difficulty.
Yeah. I feel like the first thing, I like that thought, because the thing that I think of and like I feel like I've been talking about a lot is feelings are not truth.
Yeah.
Like you can feel some type of way. Like there was people in the Bible that felt some type of way, but they weren't always right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's might not be truth, like the way that you're feeling. Like you're saying, like, I've been stressed in the fire type of thing. And it's like, great, I can be like, yes, I can be stressed, but also like knowing that there is the promise and hope of Christ. Like there is peace in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think leads me to maybe my last question of
I'll answer this
what
one
would you tell 18-year-old Jordan? Okay.
Oh, boy. What would I tell 18-year-old Jordan? Man, I tell that guy a lot of things. I think the advice is always similar. I think 18-year-old Jordan was very ambitious, always just been an ambition-driven person. And I thought that ambition or the fruit of, which is like monetary, would save me from all these emotions or things that I didn't want to experience in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one, suffering, which we see in the gospel, suffering, which produces perseverance, which produces character, which produces hope. I'm probably missing one, but across different verses it changes. I think like I have benefited so much from the suffering in my life.
Wow.
And I think when I was 18, 19, 20, I experienced suffering at whatever capacity, and it just like ate me alive. And I thought the ambition could save me from that. Like I thought if I suffered in a relationship, that if I was wealthy enough, that would just solve my problems, right?
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know how the two connected, but they just did in my mind. So one, I would encourage to enter suffering willingly. That's something I preach a lot to this day, that like life's going to make you suffer. So like, why not prepare for it? Why not callous yourself to suffering?
Yeah.
And then two, again, like money will not solve your problems. Money is a tool. And the more that I dive into the faith, the more I've been challenged that like we have these beliefs that the world has ingrained in us since we're kids, that we've always tried to conform to the gospel and figure out the gospel's got to conform to this in some way, right? Like ambition can't be all bad. And I'm not at the point yet where I'll confidently say it is, but I have a really hard time juggling giving my life to Christ and pursuing success in my business. So I think it might just be redefining success. Like, I don't think you can chase money as a Christian. I don't care if that's a successful business. I'm not here to demonize it, but if that is your intention, I still to this day, maybe I'm wrong, have not found a single place in scripture that can support that belief at the same time. And so I think for me, a successful business or my ambition now is more of serving people. Like, I don't need X amount of dollars, but I want to serve X amount of people.
Yeah.
And like, how do I serve the most amount of people? How do I change the world and progress it forward the most? So that way I can still wake up on mission, but my mission's not money.
And I really, like, I feel like I resonate with that of just like, it's not always, I think, I like what you said because it's not always about waking up and getting in the super nice car and waking up in your super nice house. Like, what if success is speaking into as many people's lives as possible and like spreading, truly doing the Great Commission? And maybe it is making ends meet every single month. Like maybe it is the Lord just fully leading your financial life, because that and like that for me, coming from, like I said, white picket fence town where like we are raised to think success is money.
For sure.
Literally. And I was just talking to someone about how in the Bible, a lot of times we want to open up our Bible and like find something that's going to fix us. You know what I mean? Where it's like you were saying of like, you know, you try to conform the Bible to be like what you want. And you're like, I haven't found anywhere that's like Christians can chase money. Where I was talking to my friend about this, and we were like, oftentimes like early in like my faith, I wanted to open up the Bible and find something that was just gonna make me feel better. Or like lead me the right way. And you're right though, because I'm thinking and I'm like, you don't really find that with money. You know what I mean?
And I think it's scary. Like I'm often scared to approach an atheist and be like, no, pursuing money is not what we're called to do. Because I'm like, well, that's such an important thing that we've raised our whole life. Like, I don't want to just, again, I'm so careful. I don't want to demonize ambition. But what if the gospel doesn't promote ambition financially of any sort?
Jesus
like,
was a carpenter.
What if the success in your business is irrespective to the amount of money you generate in your bank account, and more like, how do I serve?
I think thoughts like this come with sanctification too. Totally. Because like I thought about that too, of like literally like I was saying, like we were at dinner the other night and I was like, I just want you to know Jesus type of thing, and I got clocked because I was like, it's not about that all the time. Sometimes it's just showing that person love, and it's like also having discernment of knowing who you're talking to, right? So, but all I have to say, this has been truly amazing.
Thanks
genuinely
for having me.
Oh my gosh, thanks for being here. It's been so great. I want to ask how I can be praying for you.
I love those times. I'm in like a men's group, so like we can get prayer every Wednesday. I'm just like every week I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. It's not that I'm like dogging on my like, that's not worth prayer. I'm like, no, I'm just like, I'm good right now. Some seasons I have it. I'm trying to think of what I've been most like frustrated with this season. I think it's always just like needing clarity on so many things when it comes to building this thing that is so unknown in my mind. Like I always have so many opportunities in front of me. And I'm like, God, which one of these are you in? And also I preach in my business all the time that like, I don't wait to think which decision has the will of God in. Like I think like again, Romans 12:2, I think it is, like, do not conform to the pattern of this world, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, so that you can test the will of the Father, the good and perfect will. So it's like, I know in my decisions, if I pursue God, that like his will's in that.
Yeah.
So I make decisions, but I
Yeah.
also have a ton of them in front of me, and I'm like, I'm not scared to make them, but I'm like,
Yeah.
also I'd love some prayer and some clarity here, so I don't need to just make all these on my own.
Yeah.
So I think I have a lot of decisions in front of me right now, all luckily in the faith, but I'm just like, which one
Which one
should
do I choose?
Yeah.
Type of thing. Well, yeah, we didn't even like talk about how like you texted me and you're like, yeah, I think I can fit it in this day. I'm going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So it's like even just like you live such a go lifestyle. So I can't even imagine like how it is trying to discern the good and godly decisions.
It's tough. It's tough.
So we're praying for that for
Yeah,
sure.
I would love that.
Yeah. Okay. Let me pray. Dear Lord, I just thank you for this time that Jordan and I have gotten to spend together. I thank you for the opportunity to be here, Lord, because it is it's only you that has brought me here and in here. So I just give you all the glory in both of our lives. And I just want to pray over Jordan to have clarity in decision making. Whatever decisions, even if they're of the faith, Lord, just give him the wisdom to discern what is good and what is godly and what you want him to do and the path that you want him to go down. And yeah, just give him the words to speak, and also give him the ears to listen and to just be a disciple of you, Lord, because I see you in him and I think it's truly amazing. So I just lift him up to you and I just give all gratitude and all thanks to you, Lord. Yeah, so it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Just to find out your ways better.